was from Okigwe, prehistoric Nigeria, that the out of Africa migrations of early man took off to populate the 5 continents of the globe. More so because Homo erectus implements discovered all over the world all look like they were made in the same Okigwe factory. This was also the conclusion of the archaeologists. Our linguistic analysis of samples of words from a number of languages spoken in all 5 continents of the globe today confirm what several other linguists have long suspected and concluded, that mankind, as the Hebrew Bible says, spoke one language at the beginning. Our comparative linguistic analysis of words from many languages across the globe show that Igbo, the language group that includes Okigwe, the home of the Nigerian Homo erectus, was in fact spoken by the earliest inhabitants of countries as far-flung as Nigeria, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Turkey, India, China, Greece, United Kingdom, North America, South America, including the Greenland Eskimos.
Ndị Igbo, the ancient people or the old ones. Ndị Igbo is a term often used to refer to the ancestors or the earliest generation of Igbo people. The phrase Ndị Igbo refers to Igbo people as a whole, while Ndị Igbo specifically emphasizes on their antiquity, our antiquity. Now, there is an eye-opener I want you to pay attention and listen to. Listen very attentively. Maybe you understand better. Because now today me learn about them. I never knew about it. We need to, these things we are not taught in school. We are just learning them, me personally. So I would like you to share it up for some people we never know about them. Make them learn. Just pay very close attention, please. Listen to the end and share this video, please. It's very important.
From Okigwe, prehistoric Nigeria, that the out of Africa migrations of early man took off to populate the 5 continents of the globe. More so because Homo erectus implements discovered all over the world all look like they were made in the same Okigwe factory. This was also the conclusion of the archaeologists. Our linguistic analysis of samples of words from a number of languages spoken in all 5 continents of the globe today confirm what several other linguists have long suspected and concluded, that mankind, as the Hebrew Bible says, spoke one language at the beginning. Our comparative linguistic analysis of words from many languages across the globe show that Igbo, the language group that includes Okigwe, the home of the Nigerian Homo erectus, was in fact spoken by the earliest inhabitants of countries as far-flung as Nigeria, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Turkey, India, China, Greece, United Kingdom, North America, South America, including the Greenland Eskimos. In fact, the 2 vernacular words that survived in Plato's description of Atlantis were found to be in sound and in meaning to have been directly derived from the Igbo language environment. So too were 90% of words used by Adam and his household, especially names of people and places and their meanings. Our research includes the origin and meanings of symbols used in every religion and sacred literature all over the world. In these, we found that Hebrew Bible, the Kabbalahs of the Hebrews and the Chinese, the Hindu Vedas and Ramayana, and the recently discovered Egyptian Christian Bible called the Nag Hammadi are of immense importance in revealing lost knowledge. Wherever we looked, we found evidence confirming the claims by geneticists who have been conducting mitochondrial DNA research in 4 leading universities here in USA, that all mankind came from sub-Saharan Africa, that Eve and Adam were black Africans. However, whereas it had been previously believed that Adam and Eve were descended from East African Lucy, our findings reveal that it was not an East African Lucy, but more like an Igbo Nigerian Chioma, who was Homo habilis ancestor of Eve and Adam. So what I'm saying is that it was not Eve, it was not Lucy, but rather a Nigerian Chioma, an Igbo Chioma, who was the ancestor, the Homo habilis ancestor of Homo erectus who did the out of Africa migrations. We say this because research conducted by French paleontologists led by Professor Michael Brunet revealed that Australopithecus, the direct ancestor of Homo erectus, the ancestor of Homo sapiens or Adam, lived at the Nigeria-Chad basin 7 million years, predating Lucy and even her newfound ancestors by a whopping 2 to 4 million years. This again confirms what Igbo oral traditions tell us, that we did not come from anywhere, that we are autochthons, that we are children of evolution, the uncreated, they never been ruled, the kings and queens of the earth and its peoples. Thus, Igbo oral traditions confirm the findings of geneticists. It was they who transported Igbo language and culture to all corners of the globe. Therefore, we say that the things falling apart, which you read about in Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, to whom this publication, The Lived Before Adam, is dedicated, refers to the falling apart not only of the Igbo of the colonial period, but of the prehistoric Igbos, the ancestors of mankind. Adam, who was taken from his Nigerian ancestry and moved and changed and altered and made to become less.
Pay attention, please.
Every Igbo culture is Igbo, which is to say that, I like to put it, Igbo be Igbo. As I read of the similarities between the cultural practices of Igbo peoples, those around the Niger, those to the south, those to the north, I came to see that Igbo bu Igbo. The contemporary distinctions we make today are not cultural identities, they are political identities. And political identities, especially those based on denial of cultural roots and ties, can often be limiting. So what today we call Delta Igbo, for example, is a political identity. It's not a cultural identity. Igbo bu Igbo. I am increasingly interested in cultural identities, perhaps because of my deep disappointment in our political leadership. But even those who believe in a political identity as being sort of the paramount thing must realize that a cultural identity will give rise to a more organic, more wholesome, and therefore more resilient political identity. Which in other words is my way of saying, Igbo, let us unite. Igbo in Delta, Igbo in Rivers, Igbo in Enugu, it's time for us to unite. I do not believe that people should be excluded from a cultural identity into which they have been born just because they do not speak the language, which is really a fault that is their parents rather than theirs. But I do believe that language matters. When I had my daughter, I made the conscious decision to speak only Igbo to her. She's now 2.5. And she speaks Igbo. I also love the English language, and sometimes I miss not speaking it to her at this young age. But I know that she's growing up in a world that is not steeped in Igbo. And even when we're back in Nigeria, her relatives in Nigeria don't speak Igbo. Igbo, I must speak English. And I know that she will learn English and that I can speak both languages to her when she is older. But what I'm always struck by is the surprise that people show, Igbo people in particular, sometimes shock when they realize that my child speaks Igbo. Why? I grew up speaking both languages quite easily. There are Igbo parents who, when asked why they don't speak Igbo to their children, they say, oh, it will confuse them. And then they go on promptly to sign up their children for French lessons. So it is not a question of a second language confusing a child. It is not a question of whether a child can learn to speak Igbo. It is a question of how much value we give our language, and by extension, our history, our culture, our identity.
Ndị Igbo ka anyị kwado na asụsụ Igbo ụmụnne anyị nọ si n'obodo Oyibo mụsị nwa n'obodo Igbo bụ dị sọ ndị nọ n'obodo Igbo ma ndị nọ na homeland ụmụ fama dị ka esi asụ Igbo. Ka anyị kwado na asụsụ anyị ibulu onye Igbo enwe nwa n'obodo Oyibo kpọọ onye ga na-akụziri ha asụsụ Igbo. Ọ dị oke mkpa ka anyị na-akwado na asụsụ anyị.